Talk to us about this updated user interface. It's a big overhaul.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. We're really excited about it. It's been a big morning. We've launched the biggest change we've ever made to our product, an all-new desktop app. And it evolves the Dropbox experience from a folder full of files to a living team workspace where you can have not just files, but any kind of cloud content, so G Suite, things like Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides, really anything that you're using, and integrations with tools like Slack and Zoom. And so from within Dropbox, you can send people messages, you can start meetings, you can send things out for signature, see your calendar. It's a much more integrated workspace because we saw so many of our customers, and frankly ourselves, struggling with there are all these new apps and they're great, but how do you stitch them all together? We see a big opportunity to make that a much more seamless experience. So we're really excited about it. Can't wait to get it out there.
So Drew, do you see this type of integration of these apps? Do you think that this is something that we're going to see more of, not just in your particular corner of this tech space, but with other sort of types of software and software services?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly most, if not all, companies are going to have integrations, but the opportunity we saw is to organize it, to really bring it into a well-designed, coherent experience, and I would say different from some of the messaging tools. What Dropbox allows you to do is within a native app, you can have all your content in one place, work across all these different ecosystems, and instead of the interface just being a list of messages, you can see here's what we're working on, here's our project, here's the most important pieces of content. We think from a design standpoint, it's a pretty different approach.
Drew, from the perspective that the aim is to keep everyone sort of coming back to Dropbox, as much as you're working with all these other apps, you're also competitive for people's eyeballs, for people's time. Do you really think that the plethora of new apps, as you say, that we're having can really survive all in and of themselves? The fact that you've got deals with Atlassian, but we've also got Zoom, Slack, Google, Microsoft yourselves. Do you think the ecosystem can support all these different players?
Well, we certainly do, and I think what we're seeing is that users want choice. They are using all kinds of different apps for communication, for content, for coordination, and what's missing is a way to stitch it all together. And so that's the role that we think we can play. It's very similar to the role we played in the beginning, like helping you get to your stuff from all these different platforms and operating systems. Now we're thinking about how do we organize and simplify your working life and help stitch together all these different things. And second, I'd say a lot of what we're doing is complementary. So you're not going to stop using Slack or stop using these other tools. In fact, we're making it easier for you to get them. And so we find that a lot of our customers love using these different tools, but they need a more integrated experience, and not having that means you're always switching back and forth, and there's a lot of friction.
It's actually sort of interesting that within the enterprise software space, we're talking about numerous players, when actually the argument at the moment from Capitol Hill is there's too few players when it comes to the technology space. They're monolithic, they're monopolies, they need to be broken up. How do you, as a CEO in the technology space, take this sudden viewpoint coming from Capitol Hill, and do you think it's got grounds in any way?
Well, I think it's an important conversation to be having, and from our perspective, we think competition's a good thing. And we need a level playing field, so it's an important conversation.
One of the other conversations out there, Drew, is just the idea of the responsibility that a lot of tech companies, particularly those that traffic in content, have. And I wonder how you view not only what's happened, but really what type of responsibility do you think the companies themselves should be shouldering to make sure that their services are used in a, I guess, proper way?
Sure. Well, I mean, trust and safety is the first thing on all of our minds, and all aspects of that, whether it's the security of the service or whether it's the content that people are putting on services like Dropbox and keeping them safe. I think we're seeing a broader conversation of a lot of technology companies finding themselves in a situation of like, all right, how do we protect free speech, but then what do you do if people put up content that's objectionable or unsafe, or things that aren't true? I mean, fortunately, our role is a little simpler. People don't usually use Dropbox as a publishing platform, but we certainly care about the safety and well-being of our users, and to the extent that anyone does put objectionable or unsafe content on Dropbox, we take it down.